Oh well, it's the hope that kills you, listeners. It's the hope that kills you. And whatever hope we had yesterday had been killed in just one session. Alas, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Cricket Corner podcast with me, Vatsal Vora, as we review the entire World Test Championship final between India and Australia, coming to you live from the Oval. Well, it's only fair that I recall Dwij, Yash, and Nachiket for this review podcast because they were there when the preview happened. You guys loved them, so here they are. Welcome back, Dwij. How are you doing?
Well, thank you again for calling. I've been doing good.
Yeah. How are you, Yash? How are you coping after India's collapse?
Like I have no words, but like when Virat Kohli got out, I just left.
Yeah, you will
I
need
didn't
some
finish the
words
match.
today. You will need some words today, so save yourselves. And good to see you
Sure.
again, Nachiket. How are you doing?
Same here, brother. Thanks a lot for inviting us over again. And pretty much downbeat after the result, but life goes on. There's the World Cup coming up, so all of us are looking forward to that too.
Yeah, your life goes on, and so does this podcast. So, Dwij, let's start with you first today. This time, 164, I guess we were at the end of day three. Sorry, at the end of day four, we were 164 for three. Virat Kohli was there at 44 not out. Rahane was there about at 20 odd or something. And apparently, we all had hope going into the fifth day because we only needed 280 runs. Now, don't get me wrong, 280 is still a monumental task ahead of us, batting in those tricky day five conditions. But were you amongst us as well? Did you also have some hope going into the fifth day?
Yeah, definitely. I think Virat Kohli's average in the fourth innings whilst chasing targets has been phenomenal. And the way he was batting yesterday, he looked in complete
Yeah.
control. So I thought that, there is still a very good chance that if both of these players stick to the crease, then India can win this match. And speaking about scoring 280 or 300, I know it is difficult, but having just played the IPL, we all know it is achievable. If it can be achieved in 20 overs, then certainly in 90 overs, it is very easy to achieve. So I think both looked impeccable yesterday, Rahane and Kohli. So
Yeah.
although they in the first innings, Rahane had a bit of a luck in remaining not out, but this
Mm-hmm.
time around he looked very sure. His defense looked absolutely compact. So did Virat Kohli. So I thought that yes, we still had a chance, but I did not predict such a collapse, to be honest.
Yes. Now that's the worrying part, isn't it? Because Yash, even I'm sure you were a bit confident as well. I wouldn't say we were confident and favorites for the win. Don't get me wrong. 280, as I said, is always a big thing to chase down on day five. But I'm sure with Kohli and Rahane looking good towards the end of day four, were you also amongst us? Like, were you also believing that, oh, hang on, Australia are not running away with this. There is still an Indian fight back going to happen. Like, regardless of what happened today, we'll be talking about that soon. But before the start of day five, what were your thoughts?
Like after checking the score last night, so I was pretty
Yes.
much confident. Like we have one of the two, best men who are in their top form. And
Yeah.
Rahane, we saw what he did in the first innings. So I was pretty
Yes.
much confident that like if these two just bat till lunch and if they can get a partnership of maybe 150 or 175,
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
even if one of them goes out, others can come and carry the momentum and we can easily win that because like by chance the game was in our court.
Hmm.
For like maybe the current form of all the cricketers considered, it was an achievable target. We just had to push hard, stop making the same mistakes which Virat Kohli is known for. Like I had
Yeah.
confidence like we would see him raise the bat for the 74th or 75th time, but as like I think India needs a lot more luck in ICC
Yeah.
tournaments. Like I'm not
I
at all
think.
confident going into the World Cup with such a terrible form.
Yeah. But coming to you, Nachiket, and this, like, you could be the last one to talk about day four before we eventually talk about what happened on day five, and we all want to not talk about it, but we have to eventually. But talking about day four, and I want to know your thoughts as well, because I think the reason why like Dwij was confident. Yash himself said he was confident. I myself was confident as well. And the reason why I felt that confidence is mainly down to how well Rahane and Kohli played towards the latter stages of day four, because they were timing the ball really well. We were getting these odd boundaries every couple of overs. Singles were easy to come by as well. And Australia weren't trying to create that pressure which we all expected them to. So was that the reason why you were confident as well?
Well, I was confident with the start that Rohit Sharma and Shubman Gill had given.
Yes,
They had
yes.
given in both the innings. If you see, they've been off to some good starts, but we lost a wicket too many in these conditions. When you're chasing 280 is not a big score to get on the last day, considering how cricket has advanced in some years. But
Hmm.
there was one wicket too many that we had lost, and there was always a possibility of a collapse like this if either Kohli or Rahane went early, and
Yeah.
that's exactly what happened. But these two have stitched many great partnerships over the years, so we always had
Hmm.
hope. So yes, pretty much I was a bit optimistic, not totally convinced, but just a bit optimistic that we might pull this off. And these two had to be there for another 100 to 150 runs minimum, but that was
Yeah.
something that did not happen.
Yeah, like the fall of wickets, like let's talk about that eventual collapse that happened. And I'm just opening the Cricinfo website here. We can see the collapse happen right in front of our eyes. 179 for 4 is when Virat Kohli was dismissed by Scott Boland. Two balls later, it was Ravindra Jadeja was heading back to the pavilion without troubling the scorer. So that's 179 for 5. There was a little bit of, like, calling it a partnership is a stretch, but there was a little bit of partnership happening between Ajinkya Rahane and Shikhar Bharat. So that was 212 for 6, 213 for 7, 220 for 8, 224 for 9, 234 all out. So yeah, it collapse is a really appropriate word to use here. And Nachiket, staying with you here, you briefly mentioned that it was Virat Kohli's wicket which was the key for Australians to take. I think Dinesh Karthik said it in the pre-match show that it's like Virat Kohli's wicket is the key for Australia's victory. Like if they pick his wicket, it's basically game over. Why is it that we are always reliant on Virat Kohli, and why is it that our top order seems to be a bit of shambles, but this time even the middle order didn't perform to its standard? Do you think the pressure of chasing was too much of a burden on just Virat Kohli and not others? What are your opinions on that?
Well, since the last 3 to 4 years, there's been a pattern in Indian Test cricket. Whenever we are batting overnight,
Yeah,
either we score freely or either there's a collapse like this. I have 3 to 4 collapses on back of my mind that have happened like this. Then India are in a good position overnight in games where they expect to win or maybe
yes,
get a positive result. But there's something, one or two quick wickets, and there's a string of wickets around it. And back to your question that why are India reliant on Virat Kohli and
yeah,
let's say for that matter Ajinkya Rahane also.
yeah,
Uh, this has been India's problem since years, since a couple of decades at least. We have had batsmen that are over relied on. We had a
yeah,
golden era of Test cricket where, batting wise, where everything was fixed, like the middle order was fixed. Still, we relied on Ganguly, Dravid, Lakshman, Tendulkar to score heavily, and they did
yes,
score heavily. Of late, the thing is that we had a era where Rahane was fluent, Cheteshwar Pujara was fluent, Kohli has been fluent since the last 10 years. Openers have been have been juggling here and there. But once there's a one or two wickets like this, we have collapsed more times than not.
yeah,
I feel it's still not clear why this happens, as we have been scoring freely in almost all the tours that we've had,
yeah.
all the home series that we've had. But it baffles me why batsmen need to be more patient. That's the simple point that I can make. It's not
Hmm.
that every time you need to score a boundary every over in even test matches. An economy of two or three can be manageable. Even if we had, just negotiated the first star initially today, I think that we've been in a much better position. Who knows, maybe the match would have been on right now at the time of recording.
Yeah. You made a really good point that India usually performs well in these tours that we have, be it away or home. And Yash, I wanted to know your opinions on that. Do you think it's a bit of a mentality issue with the Indian batsmen, or because eventually when it comes to these big ICC tournaments, we have seen it time and time again that there's an odd collapse. There is some or the other batsman not playing according to their strengths and stuff like that. Do you think that's a mentality block in our minds which is causing this to happen time and time again? Because let's be honest, it's been nearly a decade, almost a decade since we last won the ICC trophy.
Yeah, it's a mentality issue as well. I think they fumble a bit. I think not getting
Yeah.
used to the weather conditions and pitch, that might be one of things. But also, uh, I think for example, let's take Shubman Gill. He was in an excellent form during IPL. We all had high
Mhm.
hopes from him. Like we got the opener issue solved as well. Like KL was
Yeah.
not there, unfortunately. So he took his place. So we had a lot of expectations, like how he was in a good form since last 6 months. He performed well in IPL, all the series, and we thought, okay,
Yes.
he might be the one who'll take the ship forward, and then Kohli will do the rest. But I think it's their attitude or something, or maybe like they are not used to playing at conditions, because we know everybody prefers home conditions. And
Yeah.
we can see that Shubman Gill has 3 centuries at the Ahmedabad Stadium.
But
So
yeah.
it can be a practice issue. They might be some little bit over optimistic as well. And in the
Yes.
end, when they face the reality, it's all the team
Yeah.
goes crumbling.
Yeah. Dwij, I wanted to know your opinions about Virat Kohli. Me and Nachiket briefly talked about how crucial he is. And let's be honest, regardless of the format, he is crucial to anything India does, be it test match or one day cricket, be it the World Cup in the coming World Cup. But what were your opinions on that shot selection? Now, credit to Boland, he set up brilliantly for Kohli, inviting him to drive, getting that leaning edge. But we have seen it time and time again that sixth or fifth stump kind of an area has always been a concern for Virat Kohli, and seeing him dismissed in that same fashion over and over again is kind of frustrating. So I'm sure it's frustrating for you as well, because we all know, all four of us are Virat Kohli fans, and you in particular are. So what were your opinions on that particular kind of dismissal?
To be honest, I don't have any such answers to explain why Virat Kohli is getting dismissed repeatedly in similar fashions. We have also seen that not even in foreign conditions, but in India also, he gets out to similar line and
Yes.
lengths, particularly against leg spinners. So it's not that he's just, poking around the off stump only against fast bowlers, but against bowlers who are just nipping the ball away from him. That's been a constant issue for him. So I think uh, uh, seeing the stature of a player that he will constantly be working on it, but somehow it is not being as successfully executed on the field. And I think here Rahul Dravid, I think, will be a good mentor for him, because
Yeah.
Dravid also had a very similar lean patch where he was constantly getting bowled. I think in the Tour of England, but thereafter he recovered exceedingly well. So in such situations, mentality is again a key, and I think no doubt Virat Kohli has a great monstrous mentality, but again here a bit of coaching might be required from the likes of proven test players like Dravid.
Yeah, that's a good point. But eventually it was Virat Kohli's wicket, and Dinesh Karthik summed it up perfectly pre-show that it's Australia versus Virat Kohli's wicket. Like once they get in, I think it was bound to happen that the team would fumble under pressure, and that's eventually what happened. But let's also talk briefly about Jinkar Rahane. Before we started recording the podcast, Yash was saying that he was arguably our best batsman in this World Test Championship final. He scored like an 89 in the first innings, and that could have been a 100 as well, if not for a brilliant catch by Cameron Green, if I'm not wrong. Was it Cameron Green? I guess it was Cameron Green, wasn't it? Yeah, less we talk about his catches, the better, to be honest with you, right at this point of time. But yeah, Rahane Dwij, in the preview episode, you spoke really highly about him being selected in the test side, and he's proved his worth. I think he's here to stay in the test squad for at least a series or two now, based on how well he's performed and how others struggled, the likes of Pujara and Gill. I'm sure you will be pretty happy to see, and I think it's one of a few positives which we can take away from this World Test Championship final.
Yes, definitely. I always backed Rahane to do well when the backs were against the wall. And we have seen him perform similar roles for us in the past also. The recent example being the test in Australia. So I think that with Rishabh Pant, KL Rahul, and many other middle order players like Shreyas Iyer also injured, I think he will get a good run of games in the upcoming West Indies Test match series as well. And if he also performs like he did in this Test match, then again he has a very good chance of cementing his place back. And also during the match, I heard Justin Langer, who was in the commentary box, saying that, similar balls that other Indian batsmen were having trouble negotiating, Rahane was extremely confidently blocking them or leaving them. And one crucial point that Langer mentioned was it was all evident that Rahane was extremely hungry to get back into the side, and that was proving to be that extra sort of determination for him to, watching the ball more closely and being more focused. Whereas the other people, they know that they have already established themselves in the side, and one knock here or there wouldn't make a difference. But for Rahane, this test match was extremely crucial to get back into that Indian camp. And I think, yes, he has fulfilled whatever expectations were there from him.
Yeah, as soon as the squads were announced for the World Test Championship final, we were pretty sure that Rahane would play as the number 5 because he had an amazing IPL to that point. And I'm not saying that he didn't have a good IPL after that, but one place which was contentious and was highly discussed was that of Ravichandran Ashwin. India eventually decided to not play him and instead went with an extra seamer in the form of Umesh Yadav. I think, Nachiket, we talked about how India would definitely not play 3 spinners like they did in the Border Gavaskar Trophy, the likes of Akshar Patel, Ravindra Jadeja, and Ravichandran Ashwin. Regardless of how good they are, England pitches don't require three spinners, and that's what happened. But I remember us speaking in that preview saying that we would go with Ashwin and Jadeja, we'll at least play 2 spinners, but that didn't happen, and we instead went with Umesh Yadav. Now, I wanted to talk about it and know your opinions on the Ashwin dilemma which the Indian team faced. Not only did we miss him with his bowling, because apparently if Nathan Lyon can get some turn out of it, you can expect Ashwin to do the same, if not better. And also we missed him with his bat as well. Like playing such a, like we can say, balanced loosely, but not even getting to that threshold of 300 runs in both the innings. We made 296 in the first one. Do you think we missed his batting more than his bowling, or we missed him completely? What are your thoughts on him not being selected in this match?
Well, we missed him as an overall package.
Yes.
For the first and foremost thing being his bowling. I'll just mention names of the batsmen: Usman Khwaja, David Warner, Travis Head, Alex Carey, Mitchell Starc. There are 5 left-handers in this Australian playing 11.
Yes.
And Jadeja did reasonably well in whatever limited conditions that he had. He did remarkably well. Over here, you are missing the cunningness of Ashwin. He's not just a normal bowler. He has a very sharp mind, and he can set you up beautifully. And especially bowling against left-handers, be it overseas or in Indian pitches where he gets the turn, he's a master at it. You have seen him get the left-handers out many times, like Khwaja, David Warner. He's at their number many a times.
Yes.
So we definitely missed the trick over there. And as I just saw, even Sachin Tendulkar has tweeted that he does not understand why Ashwin wasn't picked in the 11 with 5 left-handers being in the 11 of Australia. So, and even he can, of course, as you mentioned, he can chip in with those runs, and he can also assist the captain tactically if needed, because he is a very good mind and he has played what 92, 93 test matches for India,
Yeah.
and he has been excelling at the top level since almost a decade now.
Yeah, that's a brilliant point you made, that he could have been effective against left-handers. And Yash, I wanted to know your opinions, and I'm sure you will agree with whatever I say right now, that if we had Ashwin, it would have prolonged our batting lineup as well. Like our batting, like we heavily rely on Shardul Thakur, and don't get me wrong, he's an excellent all-rounder, and there's no denying that. But having someone like Ashwin would have seen us bat a little more deeper. Like instead of Umesh Yadav, he would have come up at number 7 or number 8, which would have been reasonable. Like I'm not saying that he would have helped us chase down 444. I'm not saying that, but I'm sure it would have been a much better fight with Ashwin as a batsman. Forget about his bowling, which is obviously we missed, but just focusing on Ashwin as a batsman, I think he was a major miss, wasn't he?
Yeah, he could have been a good clutch for us back in the deep down, the last tail-ender section. And we know how well did he also, try to bat and stabilize the innings in Australia as well. So we missed
Yes.
a very good batsman in Ashwin. He's an excellent bowler. I think he's the number one. And some senior players, as I saw on Twitter, have raised questions as well. Why wasn't he selected? Because we saw, I think Lyon took some 4 wickets today. And
Yes.
we definitely needed a good left-hander, because see, Ashwin cannot get you the runs, but he'll try his best to stabilize the innings, and he'll set up the innings for the guy who is batting with him. So
Yes.
we missed a very good player in him, and I
Yeah.
think
Like
what bad selection is led to this horrible of a mess, which is WTC.
yeah, I think it has been a contributing factor. But after all, we have talked about India's downcomings for quite some time now. Let's give credit to the Australians as well. Let's talk about how well they played. Putting 470 or 469 in the first innings on a green wicket is a big task, and they did really well. I'm quite impressed by how Australians batted on that first day after being put into bat on a greenish wicket, and they negotiated the first session really well. And once Travis Head came out, it was just counter attack non-stop with Steven Smith aiding him. Nachiket, your thoughts here. Do you think Australia won half of the game just by batting brilliantly on the first day, thanks to Smith and Head?
Absolutely, half of their battle was won after in the first innings itself. India did not bowl consistently in the
Yes.
initial hours where there was some juice in the pitch, and it was greener than it was at the end of the test match. India had to capitalize that. We had bowlers, 4 pace bowlers to get the advantage of that, and we weren't able to
Yeah.
do that. But credit to Australia, the way they have batted throughout the match, and what they did best was capitalize on the mistakes of Team India.
Yeah.
India bowled short with the new ball, and they did not leave any chance of hitting the bad balls away and capitalizing by scoring some runs through that. As we saw, Travis had played a very good counter-attacking inning. He's used to this, and it was very late in his inning that we started to identify one weakness that he had, that was short ball. So eventually got out to that, but
Yeah.
by the time we realized, it was too late. So credit to them all. Special mention even to Alex Carey. He hasn't been
Yeah.
scoring very freely, but he chipped in with you know uh, contributions
Crucial
that
runs.
were
Yes.
crucial runs, contribution that were good enough for them to take the game away completely from India. And once you score 460 runs in the first innings, there are very few times that you lose a match. So full
Yeah.
credit to them and their bowlers.
Dwij, I wanted to know your opinions on Alex Carey, which Nachiket briefly mentioned and touched upon him. Brilliant in the first inning. He scored like 45 odd, 66 not out in the second innings, and he was very, very good with the gloves as well. No, he took some amazing catches. I remember I think, was it Umesh Yadav's wicket with one hand? I think he did take someone's catch with one hand today as well. So brilliant wicket keeping as well, brilliant with the bat. Do you think, like me personally, I did felt that, and I'm sure you will have felt that the same thing as well. But did his performance remind you and made you miss Rishabh Pant even more?
Yeah, definitely. I think Rishabh Pant has been a revelation for us in Test series, and he's someone, who also performs more better when under pressure. So
Yeah,
Alex Carey, although was not under similar sort of pressure, but he also was in need of some runs because he was out of form since a couple of Test matches.
yeah,
Although his wicket keeping is always top class, there is no doubt about that. That's why he's the
yes.
number one Test keeper ahead of Matthew Wade. But yes, his batting was a bit dicey coming onto this test match, but he has proved everyone wrong and played those crucial knocks with the tail enders when required, which has just pushed up Australia to this
Yeah,
title.
yeah, that's a really important point because when I saw Alex Carey play in the Border Gavaskar Trophy, it was quite sad to see someone struggle because we all know he's a very capable batsman and he was trying to sweep the ball on Indian pitches. It was not working, but eventually on English pitches, which kind of worked. But he didn't only rely on his sweeps. He was scoring those free pull shots. He has a great cover drive in his arsenal as well, and he was really using that to the full extent. Now, Yash, let's talk about Steve Smith as well because it would be wrong to talk about an and brilliant Australian performance without talking about their star batsman. And he certainly lived up to the expectations, unlike some of the Indian stars. I'm just kidding. Don't tweet at me here. But yeah, 121 in the first innings. He was outstanding in the slips as well. He took an excellent catch off Virat Kohli today morning. How highly do you rate his performance against India this time around?
No, I would just like to sum it up with, as Virat Kohli said in the interview before this tournament began, that Steve Smith is one of the best test cricketers of this generation. And it's true, word on word. Like, we have seen how he has consistently performing in test series, always stepping up for Australia, where even used
Yeah,
to play ODI as well. And like, he's not like, he's one of the most crucial batsmen in the Australian team. Like, after Warner fails, he'll just come one down to steady the innings, help to get that on
yes.
the big score, which is always with the Australians. So like, he has been a menace for us, and like, I really hope he does carry this form in Ashes as well, because like,
Yeah, that's
overall he's an excellent test cricketer.
Yeah, I think his record at the Oval was amazing. Like, wasn't he like averaging like 90 odd at
Except
the Oval or
90, it
something?
was, yeah, he has an average of 97 at Oval.
I think that exceeded 100 when he got his century. I think I'm not currently sure about the exact numbers, but yeah, that's a good point you made that you can never discount Steve Smith on the test arena. We talked about Head, we talked about Carey, we talked about Smith. Another match winner as far as the Australians are concerned was Scott Boland, uh, leading their bowling attack in a way. Nachiket, your thoughts on Scott Boland because he has only arrived at the international stage for the past couple of years, if I'm not wrong. He made his debut in the Ashes series back in 2021, was it? But he's been an exceptional find for the Australians, and seeing how well he is bowled in the World Test Championship final against India, it's hard to see him being kept out on the sidelines as far as the Ashes is concerned because yes, you have Josh Hazelwood waiting in the sidelines, but you just don't cannot drop Scott Boland after the amazing performance he has had against India. So can you sum it up? And what are your thoughts on how well he bowled?
Well, that was classic test match bowling that
Yeah,
we saw from Boland. He just did what Jadeja is famous for: consistently bowl at a line and length that is, testing the batsman, having
yeah,
enough patience to bowl throughout his spell at a one line, one length. So that's basically what he did, and I think that credit to him, as he's not young and he wouldn't have the hunger to perform this well and get back into the make their debut at an age of 32 in test matches, that too
yeah,
for a fast bowler. So credit to him that he stuck around, had enough hunger and motivation in him so that he could make his debut and make a mark in international cricket like this, as this is not some bilateral test match series that is going on. This is a world test
yeah,
championship final, and to not get phased by the occasion and just sticking to basics, as I think that he has done a wonderful job. And the second point that you mentioned, I'd still go with Josh Hazelwood. He's,
yeah,
back in Australia, he's compared with McGrath as the closest bowler that they've seen since McGrath. He's also a master
Mhm.
at this and bowling consistent lines and lengths and getting the opposition batter out. So I'd still stick with Hazelwood if the choice is between Boland and Hazelwood. But it will give a headache that the Australian selection staff won't mind that who to pick out, who to drop out of these
Yes,
four pacers.
there
So
have
that will
been
also be a yeah.
there have been people on social media commenting that Hazelwood should play alongside Todd. Sorry, not. I was going to say Todd Murphy. No, Hazelwood should play along with Scott Boland, and Mitchell Stark should be the one who should give way for the same. But I personally don't like that idea because Mitchell Stark is a very handy player when it comes to the bat as well. We saw him score 40 odd runs in the second innings, and he has that capability of playing quickly and putting the fast bowlers and the opposition bowling attack under pressure, similar to what sometimes we have seen Mohammad Shami and Jasprit Bumrah do for India. So, what are your thoughts? Do you agree that Mitchell Stark is untouchable in this Australian lineup?
Um, I wouldn't say that he's untouchable, but he brings something that the other three don't. That is a different angle of a fast bowler.
Yeah,
He's a left-hander, so that's probably one thing. And the other thing being that he's formidable when it comes to opening spells in a game. He usually gets
yeah,
some wickets, but what we have seen is that he's been leaking runs in this match. Although that he did not bowl as bad as his figures suggest, but he's a brilliant bowler. But it will eventually come down to one between Boland and Mitchell Stark. And initially, in one or two test matches, they might stick with the iconic trio of Stark, Hazelwood, and Cummins.
yes,
But if let's say if they stick with Mitchell Stark in a couple of matches, if he doesn't get enough wickets, they'll be Boland. Hello, I just performed and won you a World Test Championship. Then where's my
yeah,
chance? On what
makes
basis am I
sense.
being dropped? So he will be knocking on the door. So it will
Yeah,
be interesting to see what they do.
yes, I think Scott Boland really led the Australian attack because Pat Cummins, on the other hand, wasn't having the best of the games. Yes, he picked up 3 wickets in the first innings, but he was bowling way too many no balls, and it's something we haven't seen from a top quality bowler like Pat Cummins. But yeah, credit to Scott Boland. He got his opportunity, grabbed it with 2 hands, and we can see the result as Australia have won that World Test Championship final by 209 runs. But yeah, Dwij, what's next for Team India? We have the tour of West Indies coming up. That would be a start of the new World Test Championship cycle as well, with the final coming up in 2025, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, 2025. So, do you see a wholesale changes? Do you think we'll now have a complete revamp? Which I personally don't think it's going to be that easy. But what are your thoughts of what India should be doing going further into the new cycle?
No, revamp. I don't think there will be a major revamp because this team has been winning matches. It's not that we have
Yes.
just been losing. It's just one odd game, although it was a final, but it's just a single match that we have lost. So, this team as a unit has been doing pretty well in all conditions. I think one major issue is the top order that India needs to quickly
Yes.
fix. It has constantly been not able to make runs on a regular basis since couple of years now. So I think I was mentioning to Nachiket also a few days back that we had in the past openers like Akash Chopra and Murli Vijay, who just
Reliable.
who were extremely reliable in all
Yeah.
conditions, be it India in foreign countries, and they held their end from one side.
Should I add one more name to that list? Wasim
Yeah, yeah.
Jafar.
Yeah, Wasim Jafar as well. So I
Yes.
think these sort of traditional test openers, I think neither Rohit Sharma nor Shubman Gill is of that sort. They both are extremely pro-attacking players. I
Yeah.
think that's good enough. But in test match cricket, you need that solid opening pair, who sees over through the new ball. They stick to the crease for 30, 35 overs, make 100, 150 run or 200 run
Yes.
stack for the middle order to have it a bit easy. But that's not been happening for India. We have been having major chop and changes in the top order. Sometimes you are trying out Shubman Gill, sometimes you are trying out KL Rahul, Sometimes you're trying some other opener up front. So that stability is still not there. And I think the West Indies Test series will be a very good chance for India and Rahul Dravid to pick some other traditional Test match opener if they
Yes,
want and try that combination as well.
I really like Mayank Agrawal as an opener because you can consider him. Yes, he has got shots in his book, but you can consider him as one of these odd test player that can be reliable as well. But
Again,
which, yeah,
Mayank Agarwal also had been given his fair share of opportunities, but again, he also
yes,
wasn't that consistent. So I think he deserved getting dropped from the team, but you need someone. I don't know who, but you need someone.
yeah. But so you are trying to say that it's high time India move away from the likes of Rohit Sharma in the opening
Yeah.
space. But what are your thoughts on number three? Because Cheteshwar Pujara is not getting any younger as well. Yes, he had an amazing time with Sussex in the English County Championship, but once again, when it comes to the big stage, he's once again flopped. Like flopped is a big word to use, but yeah, I didn't like how the way he got out as well, trying the uppercut. He's so unlike someone like Cheteshwar Pujara, and that's really hindering with me in my mindset. Is it time to call it a day on Pujara? Don't get me wrong, he's been
Um,
an excellent servant, but
no,
yeah,
I think calling it a day and dropping him off from the side would be a very far-fetched measure. I don't think India will drop him. They still need that number three because again, he is their traditional Test match player who
yeah,
only plays Test for India and he practices this day in and day out. So there might be some odd matches. I know he has not had the best of games since a couple of matches now, but that is normal for all the players in cricket. So I think India will back him, and also I know that Rahul Dravid is a big fan of Pujara, and I think he also will show a lot of trust in him. And certainly he won't get dropped, and I don't think that number three and four players in that position are in any danger of getting dropped.
yeah. Yes, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, like what Dvid said, that we need one guy to, do it all. And for me, it's only one guy, Rishabh Pant.
Yeah, I
We
knew that
need
was
him
gonna be
back
it.
as soon as possible, man. We need him. My man, RP.
Yeah, Nachiket, your thoughts on the same?
Well, there are three or four positions here where we might feel that it's time to move on. We
Yeah,
even moved on from the legendary team that we had a decade ago. But the difference was for a Virendra Sehwag, we had a Shikhar Dhawan ready. For a Rahul
yes,
Dravid, we had a Cheteshwar Pujara ready. For a Lakshman, we had Rahane ready. Even for an Harbhajan, we had an Ashwin ready. If you talk about it now, I do not have enough names in the back of my mind that might be ready to, play
test,
for
test
India at
cricket
the
at
test level
least.
consistency.
Yeah,
Drop Pujara, Rahane, Kohli, or whoever you want to drop. Even drop Rohit Sharma. But do you have any solid players who have been knocking
no,
on the doors of Indian team? I do not think that that's
yeah.
the case over here. So that's a major issue. We do not have enough, solid test cricketers coming up.
Yeah, that's a really good point you made because when there's the IPL going, we always tend to make these points that oh well, India have so many good T20 players that we can at least make 3 11s and be competitive against any side in the world. But that's the issue we are facing in the Test circuit as well. That we are not getting good reliable players when it comes to Test cricket, and that's why we have no other option but to stick with the likes of Pujara regardless of their form. So I think someone needs to step up. If you had to pick one good opener from our current, you can pick anyone. Like my pick would be Ruturaj Gaikwad, who I think has all the shots in the book to flourish at the test level. What are your thoughts? Who can eventually replace Rohit Sharma as our opener for a good 10-year span?
As I said, there aren't many names. If 4 to 5 years
Yeah,
or a couple of years ago, you would have maybe mentioned a couple of names over there. There is an experienced player in KL Rahul, but he
yeah,
hasn't been consistent that
delivering.
to an extent that we expect. Uh, 3 or 4 years ago, there was a name coming up, Prithvi Shaw. We all know has a lot of talent, but he hasn't
Yeah,
proved in a single inning that you know You see, it's laughable right now considering that I
Yes,
even brought up this name. He was a consistent feature in the first couple of years of his, when he
played
broke
that
into the
GABA
Indian
test.
team. Exactly. So, yes, he isn't someone that is in the scheme of things right now with all the off the field stuff that is going on. But
Yeah,
Ruturaj Gaikwad, you have mentioned, he scored well in limited overs domestic cricket in IPL, but for Test he needs to get good couple of
yeah,
season with 1500 runs behind his back and confidence of the Indian team that he's here to stay for a long time. So I think that we'll stick with the current crop for at least this upcoming
yeah.
season.
Yeah, Dwich, do you have any names to add, or are you along the lines of Nachiket and thinking that and believing that there aren't any good test players at our disposal at the moment who are playing good enough at Ranji level to step up to the Indian side? What are your opinions on the same?
Yeah, I think he's correct. I think we don't have a direct like to like replacement for Rohit Sharma right now. But in series like West Indies and stuff, you can give Rohit Sharma a bit of a rest. That
Yes,
also allows you to try someone else as captain. Maybe reappoint Ajinkya Rahane
good point.
or try Ravichandran Ashwin. Both are pretty experienced. So again, I think Ruturaj Gaikwad is the leading candidate for this, and another name is Yashasvi Jaiswal. I think
Yes,
Jaiswal will offer that left and right hand combination as well. So
yeah,
that can be a bit harming for the opposition bowlers, and also Jaiswal is a player who can counter attack whenever the
yeah.
time is there. But I am not so much sure about his technique in Test match cricket, but having seen Ruturaj even in IPL, that I mean, for me, it is pretty much satisfactory that his
Yeah.
technique is absolutely spot on, very much similar to Ajinkya Rahane's technique. So I think he can be the next opener.
Yeah, like how weird is it, Dwij, that for people like us who have grown through that early 21st century or 2000s era where we had struggles to finding a good fast bowler, like we had Zair Khan and rest was based on who was fit, but now it's like our fast bowling department is all sorted. We have so many good quicks, and we never know that we never knew that it would be batting order and that to top order batsmen that
Yeah,
would
that's all
be the
credit to Kohli.
concern.
All
Yeah,
credit to Kohli and Shastri. I think they have groomed this side in such a way. So, even opposition bowlers are now more afraid of our quicks than our spinners.
exactly. Exactly. Like going to a place like Australia and South Africa and facing the likes of Rabada, Nokia, Ingidi, but we have someone capable enough that can match and sometimes even better those kind of quicks. But let's end this podcast by briefly talking about the upcoming Ashes. And Nachiket, I want to stay with you here. What are your opinions on how the Ashes will pan out? I'm sure Australia will head into that Edgbaston test, which is like in a week's time, with brimming with confidence by how well they have played India. And I think are they now the favorites according to you, or are England in their own conditions a bit better compared to these Aussies?
Well, I think that England are slight favorites heading into the Ashes purely because they are playing in their home conditions.
Yeah.
The squad that they have is, a bit less experienced than that of Australia's, but we have very new players coming in the England team. But Australia will also be beaming with confidence going into the
Yes.
series. They had a slight taste of what the conditions will be
Yeah.
there in England. They have been there since almost a month or 15 to 20 days now. So England will be slight favorites, but I wouldn't rule Australia out with the kind of cricket that they have played against India and all the experience that they have.
Yeah. Yash, what are your thoughts on the Ashes? Do you see Australia having a good chance of beating England in England for after quite a long number of years span? I don't exactly remember when it was, but I think the 2019 was won by England. So, do you think Australia have a chance solely based on how well they have uh, thrown India out of the water?
Yes, like they have a pretty good chance. They are quite confident. They have been practicing well since past months. Like many of the Australian players, they skipped IPL and they were there, to beat
Yes,
England in their own home ground. And for the
yeah,
first time, I think we are going to get a good fight from both of the teams. I somewhat think the competition is going to be equal and not completely in favor of England.
yeah.
And like I cannot wait the first test to start, because like, as you know, I would also like to get another taste of the baseball experience.
Yeah.
You talk really highly of it, so like I can't wait to see that in action as well.
Yeah. Talking highly of baseball, and Dwij, let's end this podcast by hearing your thoughts on the upcoming Ashes. Do you think, like I just asked Nachiket and Yash that Australia can be favorites, but do you think playing England and the style in which they play is a completely different ball game altogether?
I think it is, but I'll go as on record to say that Australia will win it final.
Wow. In England conditions.
Yes, in England
Yeah.
conditions.
Now that should be fun. Like the Ashes is going to be heavily previewed and reviewed on this Cricket Corner podcast, and I'm sure we'll see Nachiket, Dwij, and Yash back on this platform as well. So yeah, once again, I'm glad we recorded this podcast like 7 hours after India lost, because if we had recorded right after that, there would have been a few curse words, some ranting going on here and there. But I'm sure like the anger has we have calmed down a little. And I think this was a lovely session. Once again, really healthy conversation with you guys. Nachiket, any passing thoughts? Any ending comments from your end?
Well, again, thanks for inviting us all over again. And
No worries.
we've been fans of this podcast that you started a month or two back, and we look forward to your Ashes podcast as well.
Yeah.
And speaking as an Indian fan, well, the only positive we can take that we have been the most consistent team in the WTC cycle by reaching the finals both of the times. We
Yeah.
need one final push. I don't know where that will come from, but as the schedule is also out of the next WTC title, we need to stitch up again and go for it all over again, repeat the process, and try to reach the finals first, and have a solid game plan to execute what we weren't able to do in the last couple of finals.
Yeah. Finger crossed, man. Yash, any parting thoughts from your end?
Just need to keep our heads down, practice a little bit.
Yeah.
We have very, very, very important tournaments coming up, and like after this shameful of a performance, like the moral is down.
Yes.
But as like it's in the end, it's just a sport, so we need
Yeah.
to be prepared for big events. I'm really
Yeah.
now scared about Asia Cup before even if we even let's not even talk about the World Cup. I'm scared about
Yes.
Asia Cup because Pakistan is waiting.
Yeah, true. Dwij, what are your passing comments? Let's now shift our attention to limited on format cricket now.
Yeah, so in Test cricket, again, I would like to end by saying 3 points that first, never drop Ashwin in whatever condition it is.
Good point.
Second, in the upcoming series, try a different captain. Maybe in dream scenarios, if you can persuade Virat Kohli to once again be the Test captain, do that, eyes closed. And thirdly, put your faith in Ajinkya Rahane also in all conditions. And talking about limited overs cricket, I think India has a very, very good side there. I think players like Akshar Patel, Ravindra Jadeja are pretty well cemented in that side. And
Yeah.
again, the Asia Cup, I think I'm not afraid of, because again, since it is being played in the subcontinent, our spinners will come in very handy. So looking
Makes
forward to
sense.
the season ahead, and thank you for inviting.
No worries. So yeah, we have apparently Indian cricket is on holiday for the next 1 month. We had a tour of Afghanistan coming, which was cancelled due to some reason. So there's no Indian cricket for the next 1 month. I think our next tour is to the West Indies, which is in the early part of July. But yeah, we'll have Ashes to fill that void, and I'm sure the world of cricket will never stop, even though there's no India playing. Once again, thank you to all my three buddies here, Nachiket, Dwij, and Yash. I'm glad we had these three on this podcast, because it's a monumental achievement for me personally, because it was the 50th episode of the Cricket Corner podcast, and I'm sure we'll see them feature a lot more on this podcast. But for the time being, Vatsal, Dwij, Nachiket, and Yash are signing off. Ciao for now.